It's Ty here again. I hope that these tips might ease your times ahead. Please note that this series is not intended to offer medical advice. I am not a doctor, and the tips in these videos should be discussed with your doctor or healthcare professional before implementation. Various written sources will be listed at the end of these reasoning videos, including the 2 retired doctors with whom I have consulted on portions of the material. Just a word regarding the reasoning or B videos. For those who are not scientifically inclined or do not like somewhat long or drawn-out explanations, perhaps you may be happier just watching the A videos. The new coronavirus, corona for short here, is an RNA viral gene wrapped in a fatty coating or membranous envelope with a few protruding protein spikes. The fatty coating is a critical weak point, as simple measures like hand washing can disrupt it. Believe it or not, the virus's fatty coating was stolen from the lung or bowel of its last victim. It uses the protein spikes floating in its stolen envelope to fool its way into the next victim. RNA is more delicate than DNA, not only chemically, but also because RNA is a single strand in coronavirus. By the way, I may call the new COVID-19 corona, or crown for short. This feature may also help our efforts to disable the virus. Unfortunately, some studies show that there may not be enough UV light and natural sunlight for it to be considered a corona disinfectant. But I certainly don't mind bleaching groceries and leaving them in the sun for an hour until more thorough studies have been done on more surfaces. As discussed before, 100 million coronaviruses may fit on a pinhead, and 40,000 particles may be found in a sneeze. What if that sneeze lands in the hand? Most of a sneeze may land in the palm of the sneezer, but it's the next victim's fingertips that may receive the sneezed coronavirus from a touchscreen or doorknob that the sneezer may recently have touched. Notice the darkest areas on these ink handprints? It's mostly where the fingertips where we touch things. People seem to ignore washing this extremely important area, choosing to wash instead their palms or the backs of their hands. Remember the darkened areas of a handprint. This may help direct hand washing to the most critical areas. What underlies what we see as common fingerprints with the naked eye? Please note that hundreds of thousands to millions of corona may lie in wait in the spaces shown in these electron microscope magnifications. Just under a single scale or in a pore may lie tens to hundreds of thousands of infectious coronas. Corona may first appear in the feces. It may also actually be found in feces for weeks, even when it is undetectable in other locations, such as the mouth or lung, in recovered patients. This is why washing the finger pads is key. As we will see in later videos, the ground is also a corona hotspot due to fecal and aerial contamination, making it a reservoir. With such a tiny enemy having such insidious disease capabilities, it seems reasonable to have a 7-pronged mechanism of attack, delivered in several simple parts. Often in microbiology, the more different ways an infectious agent like corona can be attacked, the better the outcome. These parts include part number 1, simple bar soap, which dissolves the oily protective coating of the virus from which the crown of the protein spikes protrude. Corona actually means crown in Latin, hence the name. We usually do not prefer glycerin soaps, creamy soaps, beauty soaps, or novelty soaps that contain softeners or oils, as they may not be as effective at delivering the prime desired ingredient, which is a salt of a fatty acid, the tool that breaks down the oily envelope. It is best to use warm water with soap, as higher temperatures mean more kinetic energy for the molecules involved. The dissolution of oils and greases by soaps is temperature dependent, but also aided by agitation or rubbing. It is best to use comfortably warm water to achieve the goal of breaking down the oily envelope. There is no need for painfully hot water to stop corona. Part number 2 is dishwashing detergent. As with soaps, warm water means more kinetic energy for the molecules involved, and therefore a better breakage of corona's envelope. There are 5 reasons to like dishwashing detergent against corona, mainly for 4 inactive ingredients and a little for the actual main active ingredient. In dishwashing detergent, the actual main active ingredient that kills the germs and viruses is triclosan. The FDA allows you to eat off of triclosan-coated dishes, but unfortunately, some studies show that triclosan is not harmless. But if I were COVID at risk, I would gladly take the possible bad side effects of triclosan over COVID any day. It's all about relative risks and perspectives. Part number 3 is diluted chlorhexidine, operating room surgical or brand name Hibiclens. It can be purchased over the counter at most pharmacies. Chlorhexidine does have some risks, so you should consult your doctor. Again, we like to dilute chlorhexidine 1 to 3 in water. Although current studies show chlorhexidine works just fine against corona, in association with 70% alcohol, which kills it anyway, therefore clouding a conclusion, chlorhexidine has been shown to kill lipid-enveloped viruses, like corona. Chlorhexidine's effects are delayed and long-lasting, which may make it good for the final wash cycle. Further and better studies regarding chlorhexidine's efficacy against corona on living skin surfaces like pig skin would be appreciated, but the logic behind chlorhexidine's effect against killing lipid-enveloped viruses seems reasonable. Nonetheless, chlorhexidine as a final part of the wash likely does not inactivate the good effects of either soap or dishwashing detergent. Again, beware to keep chlorhexidine away from the eyes and ears, as it may cause blindness or deafness. Envelope viruses are often destroyed by soaps, detergents, surfactants, and hydrotopes, which include ALS, LPO, SDS, and SXS. Many references will be shown at the end of the video, some regarding these chemicals and their interaction or use on viruses. So, to save video time, please inspect those references if you wish to have more information. But in brief, surfactants act like mini detergents, bridging the gap between oil and water, therefore ripping apart corona's oily envelope. Some bacteria defend themselves against viruses, known as bacteriophages, by secreting their own surfactants. The Ebola virus attacks humans in part by changing one of our natural protective lung surfactants. So, we are taking some tricks from nature here with a little twist of modern chemistry. Triclosan, mainly an antibacterial and antifungal, was banned in the USA for its adverse effects on the mitochondria, the powerhouse of our cells. India also banned triclosan in products that have chances of ingestion, like toothpaste. It appears, however, that triclosan is still likely consumed by anyone eating off of dishwashed dishes. This is because it is actually deposited on the dishes as the dishwasher water dries. Now, I may not want my family significantly exposed to triclosan, but if it has a chance of inactivating corona, as some references suggest, then the risk of absorption seems reasonable to protect the life of a COVID at risk during a pandemic. In upcoming videos, you should see numerous uses for bleach. It was previously mentioned that dilute 0.5% bleach spray could be used to spot treat a possible zone of corona contamination. Again, please do not do this on a regular basis. Also, do not rub the dilute bleach spray into your skin, as it may react with your deeper skin proteins in the grooves, rather than the targeted virus on the top. Unlike soap, bleach should not require much agitation or rubbing friction to kill the virus. Household bleach is actually a mixture of chemicals. Bleach's main constituent is a solution of 3 to 6% sodium hypochlorite, which is also mixed in with small amounts of sodium hydroxide, hydrogen peroxide, and calcium hypochlorite. Bleach's main use is to remove color, whiten, or disinfect clothing or surfaces, making it invaluable in most modern kitchens and bathrooms. Sodium hypochlorite is used on a huge scale in agriculture and some industries such as chemical, food, glass, pharmaceuticals, and even waste disposal. It is often added to industrial wastewater to reduce odors, since sodium hypochlorite neutralizes hydrogen sulfide and ammonia. It is also used to purify water supplies and swimming pools. Again, I cannot stress this enough. Bleach or sodium hypochlorite is kryptonite to most viruses, especially corona. It is almost impossible to overly stress its importance in a corona sanitation. Bleach can kill microbes incredibly fast. It works against viruses in fractions of a second under good conditions, but it may take longer, depending on the surface and what might be protecting the virus, such as surrounding mucus or debris. Bleach may be advantageous over soaps and detergents, in that its killing effect does not require much agitation or rubbing, except to disperse the bleach. Bleach's antimicrobial effect is usually via oxidation, a chemical reaction. And advantageously, bleach's virucidal effects are via chemical reactions, which make them less temperature dependent than soaps or detergents, which are physical reaction based and have virucidal actions. And yes, how can one kill a virus outside of its host cell, as it's not alive outside of it in the first place? Please pardon the use of the word kill here. Now remember, corona may be in feces and anything particles of feces may have touched, including touchscreens, cell phones, paper money, coins, floors, knobs, levers, railings, and even people's handshakes. Pens in public places, especially signature pens, are likely coated with the previous person's fecal matter, and therefore multitudes of viruses of various types. In this case, for the COVID at risk, the pen really might be mightier than the sword. It is in such instances where the use of bleach can really shine for the COVID at risk. If a store forces you to use a touchscreen, then they should accept the risk that a bleach spray or two may shorten the lifespan of the touchscreen by a little bit. Don't be afraid, it's your life, and the store has a responsibility to provide safe shopping. Bleach in the Clorox container is usually 5% hypochlorite, but studies have shown that diluting it 1 to 10 in water to yield a 0.5% solution works really good against microbes. You can measure it exactly if you wish, but diluting the bleach out of the bottle with tap water between 1 to 7 and 1 to 10 will likely work, provided you have fresh bleach in the bottle. Remember, once bleach is diluted, if it is not sealed in a bottle away from light, then the bleach solution may go bad or weaken over time and even may not be reliable. Bleach is also highly corrosive, often destroying the springs and metals in sprayers, but there is a trick to minimize that problem. Now, please remember that even if a person, a friend or relative for example, tests negative for the new coronavirus after 2 weeks of infection, and at this stage we aren't even sure how accurate the testing is, and that person goes into the world, the last objects that he or she may have touched, for example money, credit cards, keys, or even their car, may harbor the infectious virus for possibly 3 weeks or more, depending on conditions such as temperature and humidity. If an infected person touches a plastic bag or food, then puts it in the freezer, the virus could remain infectious forever, depending on how cold the freezer really is. A virus might be best thought of not alive outside of a host victim's target cell, and alive once it has entered the cell, which it will then hijack, making millions of infectious copies of itself. As an RNA virus with inherent chemical and physical instability compared to DNA viruses, corona may mutate more often, not to mention that RNA copies are not proofread by cellular mechanisms. The virus has likely mutated millions of times so far. Let us hope that the mutations are not ones that help disguise it further or allow it to become more infectious or lethal. So, RNA's relative fragility makes it susceptible to certain agents, but allows a lot of room for breakage and mutation, and thus a chance at future mischief. The following is not a political opinion regarding quarantine. Quarantine comes from quarantena, the 40-day isolation of Venice imposed during the plague. Western-style, several-week quarantines may be abandoned or only re-implemented sporadically. The not-at-risk 85% may even grow restless, and social and economic pressures may combine to yield a public intolerance of quarantines versus previous concerns for the at-risk or buckling healthcare systems. If quarantines are abandoned, the COVID at-risk population may simply be told to quarantine themselves from the other 85%. This would, of course, put the COVID at-risk population at even greater risk. Thus, more practical, simple, and economic measures to help reduce virus spread to the at-risk person, which would also spare the healthcare systems, may become important. One of the doctor consultants believes that without significant quarantines, vaccines, treatments, or cures, the vast majority of people on the planet will be new coronavirus positive within 2 years. If so, any uninfected COVID at-risk persons will then be at risk from a number of unintentional or intentional COVID marries, or even their contaminated objects. It may be further concerning if coronavirus is found to remain infectious for over 3 weeks on fomites, non-human transfer surfaces, or even be transmitted by the fecal route for durations of up to 5 weeks, as some Chinese studies suggest. The ultimate initial quarantines might perhaps have considered quarantining a corona-positive person's objects as well, as these fomites may actually remain positive for longer than the owner. Will we then have digital quarantines issued depending on a chip or a paper you must carry? Do we only allow new coronavirus antibody positive or those vaccinated for the virus to food handle, venture, or travel for a while? Perhaps these measures are coming within the year, but for now, it looks as though knowledge is certainly an important protection that is actually useful now. We hope this video has been helpful, and please let us know if there are parts that need improvement. 2 retired doctors have allowed me to consult with them on portions of COVIDios. Dr. Gale is a medical doctor who was also trained in microbiology. He did his residency at the Mayo Clinic. Dr. Gale was also well respected as a surgeon for over 30 years. While attending MIT, Dr. Paul studied under Dr. Salvador Luria, a Nobel Prize winner in medicine for virology, and Dr. Harvey Blank, a world expert in herpes viruses. Dr. Paul was a surgeon who has published, lectured widely, and been used as a medical witness in multiple states. Dr. Paul performed decades of surgeries, sometimes over 20 per day, with one of the lowest infection rates in the USA. Neither myself nor anyone related to COVIDios nor consultants have any financial interest in any of the products or companies mentioned in the videos. Our sole purpose is to help COVID at-risk persons non-profit. Thank you for watching.